what is the one piece of advice, career advice, that you wish someone had given yourself when you were first starting out?
So, gosh, it takes it back quite a bit, that. So starting back a long time ago, probably the biggest bit of advice that would have benefited me in my career sort of to date would be that, you know, senior leaders in organizations are still people at the end of the day. I think almost for myself, going back, you know, all that time, you sort of, you look up and you aspire to be these individuals, but you almost at the same time put them on a pedestal. And for some people, that kind of makes them almost not approachable. You know, you can't go to them to go and ask a question. You feel that, you know, they're in their own league in terms of from an organizational structure perspective. But as you sort of progress your career and you get on, you realize that, you know, they are still people. They still have questions. They still have concerns. Nobody's the master of absolutely everything that's going on. So there's bound to be questions that people will fire up from time to time where they don't have the answer. It's almost the ability to, you know, take in the information, respond with what you can, and deal with it. So that, from, you know, an advice perspective, it rarely is that, you know, they are people. Speak to your senior leadership team where you can, you know, have a conversation with them, ask them questions around, you know, what would you do, you know, to progress your career? Where did you start out your career? Because rarely that's where it starts. That's where the conversation starts. And again, almost what I've done with that, starting some of those conversations, is gain myself some mentors as well. So, you know, starting up from mentoring, from just a conversation around, you know, how are you doing? How did you progress your career? And it rarely goes on from there. But like I say, I almost wish I would have known that sooner from, you know, starting off, you know, in call center as an example. You know, I'm not going to go and bother the call center manager. He's way too busy. It's not got time for me. There's hundreds of other things that he needs to do. But actually, they're waiting for someone to ask them a question, to be engaged, to almost feel like they can inspire other people to progress. Probably one, I'll mention another one actually, in terms of another bit of information, would be, don't be afraid to take opportunities when they arise as well. I think one of the biggest things to my career was taking an opportunity that sort of arose to me, where, you know, was a secondment into a new role. But, you know, if there's an opportunity, take it firmly in your hands and run with it. At the end of the day, you're either going to really enjoy it or you're not. But you won't know until you try it. And I know that's like a really old adage, you know, try everything once to see if you enjoy it. But it rarely is that for sort of business and career progression. You know, unless you expose yourself to the new opportunities that are out there, you don't really know if it is for you, whether it's a direction you want to take in, you know, whether as an example, you want to remain in customer service and progress in that as a career and do leadership through that route, or, you know, like myself, starting in the customer service background, moving into tech. And I found that I absolutely loved it. Look, computers, everything to do with them. So, you know, it was a no-brainer. So when an opportunity came up for that, yeah, I'll absolutely jump, even though my first opportunity wasn't necessarily tech. But yeah, it's probably those two in particular. Senior leaders are still people at the end of the day, and take any opportunities. And if there aren't opportunities, ask the senior leaders for opportunities as well.
Can you share a pivotal moment in your career journey that made a significant impact?
You know what? I'll link this straight back to the last question that you asked me as well, because, you know,
yeah, sure.
It is that. It's taking an opportunity. So I was working for TalkTalk, as obviously before we discuss anything, we'll go through my history as well. Now, when I started the TalkTalk, you know, great experience, great managers there in terms of that there, but there came an opportunity to take on a secondment. And now at the time, working in credit control in particular, you know, it's numbers, facts, and moving things on. And the opportunity was to look at process improvement. Now, I absolutely honoured that they said, you know, Deon, you know, you're really into this. Would you like the opportunity to go and give it a try? You know, yeah, absolutely. I'll take the opportunity. I'll see what's there. I'll understand what it's all about. And honestly, I can say that taking that opportunity there was almost the biggest springboard to me progressing. I think at that point in my career, my mindset was almost in the set of, you know, I'm doing credit control. I know finances. I know how to speak to people on the phone. I know how to get some money out of them if we need to, as an example, but not anything wider. Didn't even really cross my mind that, you know, there's a route outside of this area that I'm currently working in. But the second I took that opportunity and sort of understood a bit more into that then led itself into, right, process improvement. It then led itself into a project that TalkTalk was starting, and seconded onto that project to go continue working there, to getting a green belt, Lean Six Sigma green belt qualification under my belt. Then looking from the system side and process improvement to then progressing there into the tech. And then saying from tech, you know what, I really enjoy this, and now I want to take this a step further, start learning some development skills, some coding skills, and I'm progressing on that, and then seeing, you know what, it all builds up, and some of the core skills that I learned earlier, I can now start to utilize in other areas. The stuff that I almost thought, you know, non-transferable, I'm in credit control, this is what I'm doing. That finance background in terms of how things work at that level massively benefited me later as well. So I suppose it's sort of the biggest pivotal impact from that is really having that opportunity given to me to say, you know, would you like to try this? And at that point it was, you know, it's yours for 6 months, so see what you can do. You can always come back to this. So it's almost like a really nice one. But I think that was pivotal. I think if that didn't happen, I would have had to have a very severe mental shift to be able to look at something else. So I think, again, almost leading back to what we discussed before, if there's an opportunity, take it with both hands. It's either going to work or it's not, but you'll learn something all the same from it. That's probably what I'll say, pivotal moment, yeah.
How do you approach challenges, Deon, and setbacks in your professional life? And if you've got one, what's your go-to strategy for overcoming them?
Well, nobody likes setbacks, so I think that's clear and abundant for all to know. You know, wouldn't it be ideal if everything just worked the first time that you try it? And you know what? Something from a tech background, you realise that, you know, things do happen. They don't always go right. There are setbacks. There's things that you don't foresee. There's things that you could never foresee in a million years, but they do happen. So, you know, almost what do you do about them? I think for me, what I've learned is sort of things progress. When I started, okay, I'll probably go back here a bit. When I started, I think setbacks hit me really hard. And they hit me really hard from almost a professional and a personal perspective as well. Because it almost made me think, you know, have I not done what I was meant to do? Is there something here that, you know, I could have done better, as an example? But instead of almost turning that into a route for improvement, it was almost like a negative reflection on myself, saying, you know, I clearly didn't do this well enough.
Right.
Now, in terms of like a strategy to move forward with, it almost flips on its head. You, as much as you don't want the bad things to happen, sometimes they are good, because you do learn from them. If everything worked perfectly all the time, you're really going to struggle to find things to improve it, because, you know, you're not getting the feedback, you're not understanding what's going wrong. And probably one of the biggest ways that I deal with it now in terms of, you know, a setback and it not being nice is using data that sits behind it. So, you know, breaking it down to its core components. So something didn't go wrong, right? Why? And again, for those sort of process improvement background, you can use the 5 whys. You sort of break down your problem and keep asking why until you get to the root cause of something. And again, once you're at that point and you sort of ask those questions to say, you know, this hasn't gone well, as an example, what do I do next? And that could be, you know, you've applied for a job and you weren't successful, right? Get the feedback, get the understanding. What do you do next? And build on that for next time. So if, as an example, you know, in an interview, I'll use this as an example. In the interview, you said, you were really good, you were great at that, but you know what? You need a bit more focus on, I don't know, focus attention on the screen. Make sure you're not reading your notes off to one side. That's perfect. You know, that's something that is constructive, and you can build upon that, and you can almost improve it for the next time round. And really, that is kind of my approach for dealing with the setbacks now. It is, yes, it's not good. You recognize and acknowledge the failure. You most certainly take accountability for it if it is, you know, it's something that's within your remit to deal with. But the next thing you say is, what do I do differently next time? How do I make sure this scenario doesn't reoccur? You know, if it's from a technology development perspective, you know, this failed because so-and-so was on leave and no one else knew how to do that piece of work. Or what do we do next time? Right, we make sure we cross-skill. We make sure that there's a knowledge bank of information. And you build up almost the skill set. And as you do that, I think, again, looking at my history through, it's almost your resilience to it builds up. So, again, you almost originally view the setbacks as being a really negative thing. But as you progress, the setbacks are bad, but you still learn from them. You make the most out of them to the point that, you're not quite hoping for the bad things to happen, but you almost expect a certain amount so that you can do something about it. Because those are almost the best success stories, is turning something around, as opposed to, we nailed this first time, nothing else that we can do with this. Perfect. Nothing's perfect. There's going to be mistakes. Deal with it as best you can using data and insight and real hard facts to improve things moving forward.